We are live.
You say you're live? Ooh.
Camera's not working. Oh, I'm standing in front of it. That helps, right?
You're not live.
That was good. Live?
Mm-hmm. Hello.
Oh, I'm. You got information?
That is insane. No, I didn't. No, I did not. Welcome. You are tuned into Community Cuts, and this is a program that is really quite wonderful, if I do say so myself. We're being filmed at Salon Leahing, 732 Washington Avenue in Brooklyn. And you can call when you want to come and be beautiful. The number is 718-230-4100. I'm Kathryn, and I'm joined by Kimberly, Reshonah, Rickie James, and Ausarayah will be coming in to have this conversation with us. And I was really very much interested in having a conversation about what are our next steps? How do we go about building our community in ways that maybe have never been built before? In light of some of the things that are going on in the world in terms of the DEI rollbacks, diversity, equity, inclusion, there are a list of companies that have rolled back those policies that will provide for making the playing field fair. And this comes also after not so long ago there being a lawsuit against, I think it was Harvard, in order to change the rules there so that people will not have those opportunities in higher education. And so one of the things that I've been looking at, I'm not sure if you guys have seen it yet, but something called the Black Project 2025. Have you seen that? It's on TikTok.
Yeah, just recently.
And ANIYA Holloway is the woman who came up with the idea. And the idea is to build systems in which the money that's being spent in the Black community can stay in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about investing, but it's also about supporting Black businesses and stuff like that. So that's the idea. And I personally tend to be a political person, a very political person. And one of the things that I've noticed also on social media is that this whole era of rest for Black women I don't know if you've heard about that, but a lot of women who have been supporting the Democrats and voted for Kamala were very disappointed to discover that a large portion of women, primarily white women, I think like 60% of the Latino community, probably primarily men, but not all, and maybe 20% of the Black community actually voted for Trump. And so a lot of the women who are involved in the politics are like, okay, we're done. We're not going to be out there supporting anymore. And so I just am thinking in terms of, I am one who doesn't think it's enough to just vote. We need to have community support and organizations. I know a lot of people have said, well, Black people fought for us to have the vote. But we also had lawyers.
Thank you.
We also had organizations like the NAACP and all these different organizations that were lobbying and raising money and making it possible for all of the civil rights acts and all of the gains that have been made by Black people to be put in place. So I don't believe that voting alone was ever enough. So I think we're at a stage where we have to rebuild everything. And so that's the thought coming into this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe we could go around and everyone just introduce themselves again. Why don't we start?
Sure. Greetings. So Reshonah Bennett from Crown Heights, Brooklyn, born and raised. I am the co-founder of BK Crypto, and I'm just passionate about building community, but inspiring and empowering them and connecting, because I know that when we do connect, we have superpowers that can take us to the next level. But we have to really understand that we are the saviors. We have to save ourselves. Thank you.
Yeah, that line is very important. We saving ourselves. My name is Kimberly Maltzby, and I am I've been in Prospect Heights more years than I was elsewhere. So I claim Prospect Heights, Brooklyn. Okay. And I'm also a co-founder of BK Crypto. And, when you talk about, but you know what, maybe I shouldn't go talking about right now. Let's finish the introductions. Sorry.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Rickie T. James. I'm an associate architect. I'm with a naval architecture firm. I do ship hulls and ship structures. I have been retired for a while. I'm also on the Diversification and Inclusion Committee
Beautiful.
with the National AIA in New York. I served as an ambassador inside of Manhattan at the Jacob Javits Center under the Diversification and Inclusion Committee for my company, which is Joshua Architects.
Okay, and I'll add in Kathryn Davis, and I am living in Prospect Heights, but I grew up in the Boogie Down Bronx, so I have to give them their flowers. I host a radio program on WBAI called Heart of Mind, and I'm a Qigong teacher and energy healer.
Oh, beautiful.
That's why you have that amazing energy. Your aura.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. So you were going to say a little something. Why don't you start
I was
us
just
off?
going to talk about the importance of circulating money within the Black community. I've honestly never been one who needed to have the latest and the greatest of anything, but I believe that it's important for us to, do exactly what Black Project 25 is talking about, which is circulate the dollars back into the Black community. This is not a new concept, honestly. The young lady,
Yep.
I believe she says she's in her early 20s. I
Yeah,
saw
she's
something
like 22 or something.
Yeah, I recall that. But this is what people were trying to do in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and other parts of the United States years ago. And things happened. Those communities were torn down. But let's hope that doesn't happen
Right.
again. But there's got to be a way for Black people to focus more heavily on buying Black, supporting Black businesses. And that's across the board, not just your clothes,
100%.
it's everything. And I really believe that because a lot of products are not necessarily created in the United States, and ideally more of that will change. It's difficult with the economy, but so many products, the raw materials to produce products are created outside of the country, which makes it a little more difficult because, you got to think about where you're sourcing. But more and more, I actually, a friend of mine started producing clothing, more than 20 years ago in Madagascar, and that's a Black business, but people think, and granted, we do business here in the United States, but a lot of people don't even know that there are companies in Africa that they can get items made. People don't know that. So what you don't know, you don't do, right?
Exactly.
Go ahead. What are you saying?
No, I'm totally agreeing. Because there's a whole community of maybe you'd call them expats, people
Yes.
who are moving to Africa and starting businesses there. And I think they can be brought into the network because some of them are farming and making all kinds of resources. So that's a way of really digging down into it. But even if it's a business and their products are not necessarily Black products, if it's a Black business like this salon,
I mean, you got to start somewhere, right?
we can begin to support each other in that way. And I think it's important to do that, to really start recirculating the money in our community, but also we have power in withholding our dollars.
Thank you very much.
So-
100%.
So I think we have to think about if there's a college that is not going to support, let's not choose to go there. If there is a business that is clearly not going to support our community, let's boycott those businesses.
It has Springfield Gardens and in Queens have boycotted Walmart in Springfield Gardens. They didn't want it there to begin with. And when it did get there, they boycotted and they did not allow their children to go there, to work there. It's the Black man's dilemma. Like W.E. Du Bois did say. They present it and then they don't support it. So it is something that they should really think about. They should really think about it. What is then our next step? What is our next step? It's a good idea to make a positive step and show the Black pride.
Exactly. And I think that the mood for it is right.
Yeah.
Because in this last election, the Black community and Black women overall went out very strong for the Democrats and for Kamala. And they're taking a step back, and there's a lot of unity in that. And I'm seeing women like, let's just take care of ourselves, take care of each other, and stop trying to carry everybody's woes on our shoulders.
That's the narrative.
I know. And I think we can think about that because the way I see it, a lot of the gains of the civil rights movement have benefited other people more than Black people anyway. Because affirmative action actually benefits white women the most. And then every wave of immigration and naturalization that come into the country, they have other kinds of benefits as well. They'll get subsidies, they'll get all kinds of help to start their businesses or to supply them. And we don't really get access to that.
So I like that you bring that up because this has been a constant conversation, right? So why is that happening, right? Why has that been birthed when we think about America in itself, right? And so I'm sure this narrative is not new. And we know that when it comes to America, everyone else benefits. And even they try to separate between the indigenous, the Black American, and we know we're not really Black American. I say that I'm American, okay? Then you say African American, then you have the Africans that come here. Well, that in itself is separation because whether Africans coming to America, at the end of the day, they're still identifying as a person of color. But why are they benefiting? Because there's a program that has been set for separation, correct? Right. So if we know this is all happening, then what is the solution, right? Because I was also informed, and I don't recall, I was talking to my business partner, Ansel. He said there's a group of women who raised $2 million for Kamala. And they were disappointed she didn't win. But why can't we take a disappointment and turn it back into putting back in the community? Because if you could raise $2 million, then why are we not doing that beyond politics?
Exactly.
Like, can you just roll me in with that?
Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense really, that people wouldn't want to go forward and do that. Because it's true, if they could raise that 2 million, they can raise another 2 million.
This is true. I'm just thinking because we know there's a lot of quid
Pro.
There's a lot of that. So, and you got to think about many of the politicians when they go into office, they're not rich, but when they come out, they're all millionaires.
Yeah.
At least.
How is that?
And
Why
Congress
is
still getting
that?
paid
Hello?
$20,000 a plus and have insurance once they leave the
That's
seat.
true. That's true. They should have term limits, and they should also have a cap on how many years post office that they can collect on that. But they will be the ones to vote on these things, and they're never going to vote against themselves.
And wouldn't it be on a local level, right? So
Yeah.
we're so surprised. I don't want to get into politics. I'm not a politician.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm a thinker. When I say I'm a thinker, I think beyond what is shown, right? And so I can function that way. So as you said, as a community and people, that's how I function. Because if I sit in just politics, then we're going to have the same narrative and the same looping. So if we are the decision makers, because it's truly, the truth is that we run the government, but we don't know our power.
Yeah.
So when
That
we
has
talk
been
about,
a fact for years.
okay.
Yeah.
So
We
when
don't know
we
our
hear
power.
that the 40% increase of Hispanics are coming in, we saw that 4 years ago when they were planting seeds in even Florida. Did we do anything about it? No. A certain person in office, we don't like that. Okay, what were we doing on a local level? What were we creating before we started to say, I'm going to now choose this club to be a part of when there's a bigger issue in hand, that we're not taking care of our home base? When is that going to change? So Project Black 2025, I agree with it 100%, but I do want to say that we have improved, and we've improved because we were able to communicate, because now we have systems in place that allow us to connect easier, which is through the World Wide Web and social media. There's more challenges to stop us there and our spending powers, but we have to have a unity movement. The challenges that I've seen that's been happening is that everyone wants to be a leader and have their own individual approach to this solution. Why can't groups with solutions come together to have a bigger solution of pockets? So everyone wants to be the chief, so to say, right? But if we believe in this one project that's going to stimulate the majority percentage of what we're making to create change, why can't we come together?
Yep.
This one's voicing this opinion, this one's raising this money for this one, I want it to be this way, but then we can't. I said at a board meeting before, in 61, and we couldn't even get it together when it comes to housing.
Yeah.
We got to come together with our ideas and our mindset on saying, I agree to disagree, but I'm running with you anyway because I see the bigger picture.
Yeah, I think that's actually, excuse me, that's something, as I understand what the Black Project 2025 is about. It's not so much, I mean, in measure, it's how do we support other businesses, but it's also to bring together our minds. Because when you look at Project 2025 that the Republicans have produced, they have these think tanks.
Yes.
And they bring together their minds.
100%.
And they create the agenda based on what they want the outcome to be. And for the most part, they get their outcomes because they're so entrenched in power.
Right.
But at the same time, we can recognize the power that we have. But like you said, it's not just randomly supporting businesses alone. I agree totally. It's about coming together, a meeting of the minds, and say, where do we want to be in 5 years? Where do we want to be in 10 years? Where do we want to be in 20 years?
That was the motto for us.
And I think that
where do we want to be?
we're living during an age and during a time where the motivation, I believe, is there.
100%.
Now, I connect things to politics because I look at the community that I'm from, which we're all from, the Black community, and we tend to go to sleep. I remember the first Obama election. I mean, there were lines around the block. People were voting. People dedicated. But then people went to sleep. And Obama had to face his opposition alone.
Right.
By his second term, he had sold out. Black people were still asleep. So I think that just having the vote and the power of voting isn't enough. We have to be there behind the scenes and between the elections, working for our goals. And that's why I like the idea of Project 2020.
100%. I agree
Black
with
Project. Because we can't afford to go to sleep, especially now whatever people think about the Democrats, and I don't like the Democrats at all, but the Republicans have given permission for the most vile of people to come out in their racist attitudes. And we're seeing a real resurgence. And even all of these rollbacks in DEI, it's because there are political activists on the right that are lobbying these companies and threatening these companies. And that's why they're doing it. And then with the Trump election, you know, we're seeing the lowest common denominator from not everybody, but from a certain group of people. And I think that having that in our environment, hopefully we can respond to that, and it can keep us more motivated to really come together. That's what I'm hoping. Because
Definitely.
otherwise everyone's going to be scared, hiding behind their doors, because there's so much scaremongering on the mainstream. And I think that we have to, that's why I think things have to be brought together. It's not just politics. It's politics, but it's self-care.
Yes.
But it's also activism. But we have to bring together people who have real skills, like with you, with the investing and the Bitcoin.
100%.
We could do some kind of a fund through Bitcoin and have people invest in that fund.
100%.
You know, there are things we can do.
Brooklyn Metrotech downtown, 70s and the 80s, we got together. Dandy clothing store that's closed now. The Nubian shop that used to be on Fulton Street over there by the LIU closed down. The little shops of the Muslims and the African Rastafarians, the head shop. There was 4 different head shops inside of Brooklyn. Jewelry stores we had. You go in there, you were dazzled by all the jewelry. Where did it come from? Black people. And now you don't see them.
So why don't
we
we
had it
see
in our
them?
hand. We don't see them. They sold out to the
Real estate.
gentrification.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Gentrification.
I remember when, even before, you know, when I was looking to sell my co-op years ago, there was a gentleman who had owned a business on Washington Avenue. And I was talking to him and he goes, no, don't sell. It's just gonna, you know, we need the Black owners, you know? And I said, no, I want to buy something else. I need a house, blah, 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 blah. He goes, please, at least, because he was investing in a lot of carriage houses, he told me. And he, at that time, told me that a friend of his worked for the city and that they had big plans for this area. They had big plans. They wanted to, you know, have,
I saw those plans,
really, he said they wanted to have a team here and so forth and so on. And then another friend who was traveling back from South Africa, maybe a few years later, I guess there was already, maybe Barclays was already here, I don't remember, but he was on a plane and whoever he was sitting next to was just like, oh, where are you going? He goes, oh, Brooklyn, going to my wife's friend's house, blah, 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 blah. And so he said, oh, they got big plans for Brooklyn. That area down there that you're talking about. He said the gentleman on the plane told him that they plan on making like Fulton Street and all that down there, like mini Manhattan. They planned on having like high-end stores and everything else. Exactly, high-end stores. It was around that time, you know, and that's exactly what's happening. So they let the leases run out and buy people out of their leases and everything. You see high rises going up there. Once they change, once they change the laws and allowing and allowing things to be taller than the building at one Hanson place. Once they allow that. That's all she wrote.
Eminent domain. I was going to say to you, eminent domain.
Yes.
And so I say this, I love this conversation because it's always 2 sides. We always hear that we sell out. And I want to be the person that supports the sell out. Because what does that really mean? Because everybody's situation is individually different. And maybe that person to you outside in the community sold out, but maybe they couldn't even afford to sustain to be there. And if they sold, it would be better for their family. And if we want to minimize selling out, then as you stated, maybe we should have some type of funding, right? To say, I have you, I can help you stay in the community because it's so easy for us to say we sell out. And I don't think it's fair anymore because everyone's story is different. But if we had something to sustain people to keep there, right? Like the
It's
Jewish community
difficult.
does. I'm not saying it's easy,
Like
but we
the
just think
Jews
we
do.
can create it. We can
Prime
create it
example.
if we had that pool. Because a lot of times they buy houses through. We know there's ways they go through. We're not going to talk about the ways they get that thing in the house, right?
Girl, I can
We're
tell
not
you
gonna talk about
stories. Go
that.
ahead.
I can tell the story to a realtor, right?
Mhm.
However, I want to think on the high vibrational side, right? Not going under what they're doing downtown, State
Mhm.
Street,
Mhm.
Yeah.
you know,
State Street.
auction and stuff behind the deeds.
Mhm.
You heard me? Okay.
Yeah.
However, if we had a pool and created in this time a decentralized autonomous organization, then perhaps that would be something we can save someone saying, oh my God, I see that you have foreclosure. How much do you need to
Mhm.
sustain in this household?
Mhm.
You know what? Let us help you, right? And of course, with that, you have to build trust, but there's ways. And there's so many other conscious people that I know that I follow, 19 Keys, but one of them who talks about with the election of raising funds with a decentralized autonomous organization, that if
DAO.
we pull a DAO, if we pull our money together, then you can talk about some of the local issues that you want to change because now we have buying power, right? Because we have the money that's being stored. So there are a lot of people who are doing things in ways, but we just got to come more collectively as a Project 2025 coming together and having that conversation.
An example, Atlantic Yards.
Atlantic
Yeah, that's
Yards.
They had the funding.
Mhm.
The black people were supporting, all behind it. They got one shovel of dirt and they shoveled it. You've never seen anybody else doing anything else but the
Interesting.
Atlantic Yards. That took from the Koch area
Yeah.
all the way to this day.
Yes.
Mhm.
To this
Yeah.
day, and
Yeah.
not a single drop of money was spent, and no one wanted to do anything. Now they got the affordable housing in the background.
Mhm.
The 421
Yeah.
bills and 20%.
But even with the percentage
housing.
of the affordable housing isn't that affordable for the average individual. That's first and foremost. And there's so few of those units that are dedicated to
The complaints.
affordable housing that it doesn't
Like
even
you
matter.
said, you have the money.
Yeah.
You have the money for the affordable housing. You want to live here? Here's the money for you to live here. They're doing that, but nobody comes.
No, and so
Nobody
to your
comes.
point, and to affordable housing, to your point too, so affordable now
Yeah.
means the average income is about
Bit-
75K. And
There's still a lot of people who-
60
no, 75K is
Uh-huh.
considered to be
affordable.
affordable.
Yeah.
Because that's how they base it on affordable housing. If you look at your average income from
Income.
people of color,
Mhm.
and I was a financial counselor, let me tell you, we don't even rock there.
Mhm.
It's literally the percentage of poor versus wealthy.
Mhm.
There's no middle class anymore.
That's the middle
Because
class is
it's
declining. Exactly.
Right. So how do we change that to your point? What you're saying too.
I think we have to, that's why we need the full spectrum.
100%.
Not only do we need to pay attention to politicians, we need to be able to support economically politicians who are going to be dedicated to the cause. Because I've seen many a politician alleging to be supporting, and once they get in office, they're like gone.
Right.
And we have to, and also the other part of that of
Mhm.
not falling asleep. People have to know if they're going to take this lobbying money, they're only going to have one term.
Right.
Right.
You know, we have to start being very disciplined on all these different levels, from the political as well as the financial as well as the care. And also, you know, there has to be some kind of reckoning in terms of, I have at various times wanted to support Black businesses, but they're just absorbent.
Yep.
I
The
understand.
cost of
The cost of supporting is
yeah.
so absorbent. So there are a lot of problems. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure it's because they're small and they can't get the big bulk.
Maintain the manufacturing.
That's
She
what
was
it,
putting that
yeah,
earlier,
that's
Kim.
what it is because
You know,
of the
but we have
cost
to
of
look at
acquiring the
all
goods.
that
Yeah.
and begin to create systems that will be sustaining and supporting. And I think this is on time and very, very important, because when you look at the bigger picture of politics, almost everyone in this country is going to be screwed.
Mhm.
It's not just a Black thing at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
Gentrification.
It's not a black.
The
It's
wealthy
not a black.
versus
The wealthy. The
Yeah.
the have not, have and have
yeah.
not.
yeah,
That's what it's about.
you know, the so-called 1% is
Mhm.
probably now has all of the wealth, and most of the rest of us don't have access to that kind of wealth. But it's not just the wealth, because I don't think we need that kind of wealth, but it's the influence that that money has on
100%.
on what we
Right.
how we live.
Mhm.
And I think that we need to take ourselves out of that picture as much as we can by being able to help and sustain each other. So I'm not saying that one person can cover all those bases,
100%.
but that's where the collaboration comes in. So when some young person decides, no, I really like to go for a political office,
Mhm.
let's bring them in and talk to them and support them, but help to educate so that they can understand what we're all up against, and just make that, rule, a one-term rule. If you're gonna turn against
Remember,
the interest, then we won't vote you in a second time.
remember in Springfield Gardens, what I said about Walmart?
Yes.
They're now an entire black community all the way around Walmart on all four sides. And St. Albans, behind
St. Albans is-
Springfield Gardens,
Mhm.
it's helping Springfield Gardens. And they are doing something, but I don't know what it is, but they are there. They are there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, have you heard about the gentleman, Booker T. Washington? I think he's in Atlanta. He built tiny homes,
Yeah.
and I think it's something college, and he raised the money from friends and
That's
family
a good
members
example.
before he
Booker T.
actually got
Washington.
money funded from council. And so once he had the grand opening, they came support him with a check, but
Yeah.
he took his own dollars from his community
First.
and built that first.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, one of the first techie home communities in Atlanta.
And it was all against Du Bois's black man dilemma. It was exactly what the black man needed to do,
Mhm.
but Du Bois didn't want to look that way. He just said that the black man is always going to be in a dilemma.
But he
And Booker T.
proved
Washington
So-
proved that they can get out of it.
to the
Yeah.
point. Yes, sorry.
I think that we can, and I think, the black community is a very, very highly educated community.
Yep.
Definitely.
And I think that
Patient.
the talent and the creativity that usually just gets stolen and somebody profits from it, we have to find ways to protect.
I'm glad you brought that up. So let's talk about that. So I've been in real estate
Go ahead.
for years. I'm an agent, now with Corcoran, right?
Agent Green.
And I was the one knocking on doors way back when. And there's always a trust factor. And when someone else came into, it was list pendings, and you were intentional about supporting them, it was like, you or me, there's no way you can help me. There was no trust. And so when we talk about passing the lineage, one, we're talking about the crack era, and they had these brownstones and less educated and not understanding what money is. There's just several factors, as well as trust. And so when someone else comes knocking the door with a suitcase, you're open. So your house is worth 800,000, 1.something million, you get 50,000 in cash, and you think that's okay to sustain a living life. How about a living life?
People don't know.
Right, because to your point, we talk about foundation. We lack the education, not even on the black community. The world lacks education on financial literacy and what money really is. And so if someone's knocking at your door and giving you a $50,000 case and your house is worth 800,000 and 1.3 million, and your cost of living is literally that for a whole year,
More than that.
how could you ever justify that?
Yeah, I had that situation because I live in actually a rent stabilized building, so I'm very, very blessed in that way. But we had a whole series of landlords and they were trying to buy us out. And it was like a ridiculous offer. I'm like, this is not going to sustain me for what, a year, 2 years, then what? To give back that lease. So I think you're right, that literacy is a part of the process. And I think we have to think of it as just beginning it.
Yes.
It's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time to build and sustain. But even just, having these conversations, like you said, we have the media now to be able to educate people in ways that we couldn't before. And I think also there's a higher level of consciousness and awareness that
100%.
people have.
Yes.
And granted, not everybody gets it, but I think people are really beginning to understand. And we have a lot more entrepreneurship in the Black community
Yes.
right now.
That's who we
And-
are.
And so I think that there's a lot of potential so that, well, where I may not benefit, I have countless nieces and nephews and grandnieces and nephews
Yes.
and on and on and on who can benefit. So I think it's worth it for those of us who, okay, so we won't get the biggest part of it, but still to be able to feed into that and nourish it is something that is very worthwhile. And we can do it in the ways that we can do it. Not everybody can do, and nobody can do it all.
That's true. Before we get away from that particular topic, I do want to tell a story. Okay. And this happened to a friend of mine. Raised in New York for a good chunk of the years. But anywho, she and her husband owned a brownstone here, but they were living in California. And during one of the economic downturns, things got a little challenging, you know? And so maybe they were a little behind on the mortgage on the property here, you know? And again, brownstone in Crown Heights. No, brownstone in Bed-Stuy, right? And they literally received a knock at the door in their house in California. And they were Jewish people. They came with bags of cash, just like you talked about, all the way in California, trying to find their brownstone here in Brooklyn. Okay, and my friend's husband said, oh my God, he called me up. He said, you won't believe what just happened. He goes, no, we got to find some entity to help us out. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, here, call the bank, call this, call that. I said, and work out a way to reduce what's owed, blah, 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 blah. So you could save the property for now and you could sell it at its rightful value, down the road. And that is exactly what they did. So they did not accept that. So that's what I'm saying. If you're there suffering, if you're out there and you're suffering with, oh my God, how am I going to pay? Because let me tell you, between the taxes, the utilities, everything, it's like a lot of people are feeling like this, like they have no option.
Liability.
It's like, and you're probably getting solicited because here, I'm a real estate investor as well. So you're probably getting solicited, all those notifications and all those letters in your mailbox saying, oh, would you, are you interested? Are you interested? They are going to undercut you on the value of your property. Understand that, okay? If you're not selling it in the open market at market rate, they're going to be making a hefty profit. Okay, that's the business that they're in. That's the business we're in. Right. Anywho, but so please, speak to people. Yeah. Don't hold that information. Don't sit in silence. Go out there. Exactly. Talk to other individuals. Go to a realtor. Whew, God, sometimes I remember one who literally got a place out under me that I was like, what the heck? And she was like, oh, it's such a good deal. I was like, I brought it to you. Any event. But that's not the deal. But please go talk to somebody. As a matter of fact, if you're in New York, we have Duke right here, okay? And he's your guy here on Vanderbilt Avenue, and he can help you to sell your property at market rate, okay? So if you're there suffering, don't just suffer in silence and then give your property away, because 2025 is going to begin what's being called the Great Wealth Transfer. It's already beginning, but what this means is that many people own properties around the country, okay? And these are baby boomers, okay? Baby boomers are aging out, okay? Baby boomers are beginning to die. Baby boomers are leaving properties to their children. Many of their children don't even want to hold on to these properties. Many of the children can't sustain them. Many children can't do the renovations that need to take place in order to make them market ready, rent ready for other individuals. So they're like, oh, you know what? Let's sell it. But they're going to get, if they wait, they're going to be wanting the quick money. And so they're going to potentially sell it under value. Yeah, so don't wait. Don't allow This and Lord knows, please don't let it go into foreclosure, because then then there are other ways we can get some money back if it's a foreclosure or a mortgage sale, but that's another story. So please, people, go speak to somebody that you trust, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a family member. Lord knows, again, find a reputable realtor. There are, and you know what? You can surely look to see who are the top realtors in the community. Find a realtor that knows that community, that works in that community, not Joe Blow from down the street just because you know them. Find a realtor in that community who works that market, because they're going to get the best deal for you. Okay? Sorry, go.
No, that was good. That was good. What popped up in my head was you were just listing all the different businesses that we need to have our children learn.
100%.
We need to be able to repair houses and rebuild houses, and we need people who can do farming and can do greenhouses and provide food. I mean, we really have to think in terms of surviving on those levels, and and we can do that. There's no reason we can't do that, and that's why I'm inspired by this young woman who's doing this project, because it kind of, and I think it takes someone young with the energy.
Yes, I was going to say the same thing.
That can put their life into that. Give it a couple of decades and still be fine. And this, I think this particular young woman is not, she has her own business. From what I understand, she's like a media buyer or something. So it's like, there's so many opportunities now. And I think that we may have matured enough out of the devastation of, the passage through this country, to be able to look at each other and love each other in a way that is supportive, that we might not have done 5 years ago, 10 years ago, just wasn't there. So I think that the potential is there. And, what does the Bible say? Let the children lead you, let a child lead. I'm ready.
Yes.
Go ahead and lead, little girl. I'm ready to follow.
I'm ready too. My son is 18. But it is, and I want to share this story because it fascinated me too. Young people are the future. This time right now is kind of similar to the 60s, 70s, right? It just evolved. But my son is 18 and he's in college, and I say this because I was on the phone talking to a young lady discussing, I was teaching her community about cryptocurrency and financial literacy, and my son happened to call, and I picked up the phone because he went out with Sweet Chicks, it's a Black restaurant, right? And he's Nas, exactly. And he's eating there with his friend for his birthday. But he calls me because his friend wants to open up a savings account. And he calls me to say, can you tell my friend what's the best savings account to open? That hit my heart. Because whatever we were having conversations in the household, and as a financial counselor, BK Crypto co-founder, he's listening and he trusts me with his friends. Then I said, well, let me say happy birthday to your friend, Mike. And he said, Mama, that wasn't the same. That wasn't Mike on her. That was my other friend. So he called me back. And I'm still on the phone with Jillian, trying to orchestrate how we can teach her community about financial literacy and cryptocurrency. And he goes, tell Mike happy birthday. I said, Mike, happy birthday. I said, do you have a trust wallet? A trust wallet is basically a hard wallet for cryptocurrency. And he goes, no, Mom. I said, teach him how to open a trust wallet. Make sure he saves his 12 word phrases, and I'll send him some either $50 worth of Shiba Inu or Dogecoin. And his friend said, you'll do that for me? And I said, why not? And I can't tell you how I felt at that moment, but this whole conversation just confirmed that the young people are ready, and they were looking for us as the elders to teach them the foundation that they might not have at home either.
Yeah.
You understand? And that's the neighbor part of us, that if you don't get the literacy in your home, or farming, or how to grow, if that's not your gift, then you let your neighbor do it.
Right.
And bring them in. Because his kids are his friends are my kids. That's how my mother, as a teacher, took in my friends, the neighbors. We're family. So as we keep bringing love in the community, as we were sharing, that's how we're going to grow. We tag the youth and say, let's roll. What do we need to support you?
Yeah, I agree.
There was once house on fire. I was walking by, 20, 30 years, I was much younger. walking by. All the teenagers were outside, afraid of the fire, and someone was inside screaming, help me, help me, help me. I pulled off my jacket, ran right inside.
You're
I
a
got
hero.
shivers right now. I
picked her up. Chinese woman. Picked her up and brought her out.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Shows you what kids learn.
Watching.
They were watching.
They're watching the courage, and they're watching us. I know, breathe. I feel it. I feel it, and it's beautiful. Sending you love and light.
Yeah.
And that's what we can do for each other. And mostly it won't be that risky.
Yeah.
But you're a hero.
Sometimes.
But sometimes it is.
Sometimes it is, and you need
They held
someone to
my
take that
coat.
risk. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. And I think that with the advent of social media, that's kind of been drained away from young people because they don't understand what they're missing.
And they don't
And
interact
they
as much.
become so much engrossed with the imagery of it all. They're forgetting about the soulfulness that
The
they have
soulfulness.
and that they can share and live on that level. And I think that as we start to rebuild those bridges to younger people,
Integration. Yes.
and the best way to do that is to support them.
100. So the truth is, they're really crying out. They really want us. And when I say that is that at the end of the day, we all want to be loved and nurtured, and we show love differently. But like he said, and you said, they are watching us more than even realize. And so what they might not be able to get in a home, they might be able to get from a teacher.
Yep.
They might be able to get from a coworker, their first time job and experience that's supporting them in their dreams, in their vision, their fight, their passion. And the kids today are sensitive because of all what is happening energetically, the chaos and the noise, right? And so when I say that, it's the 60s again, the 70s in that fight, they have it, but it's so sensitive because they don't agree with it and they don't know how to perform because it's highly elevated between on social medias, the cast that's running through that, the different frequencies that is not aligned with their soulfulness and trusting, but there's an influence which is like, well, who's to save me? Who do I trust? Because I don't believe that this is right. But who else do I go to? Who's going to help and support me?
Exactly, and I think what has happened is that a lot of young people have pulled away.
Yes.
They've just pulled away because
It's too heavy.
It's not possible for them to discern what's real and what's not. So everybody's just kind of individually going for their own,
Yes.
wallet, whatever they can milk out of the system. And where I see that going wrong is that they're not connected to roots. They don't have the value system to be able to understand not even who to trust, but how to understand what they should and should not do.
Right.
They start to act without morals, and so you see a lot of them scamming.
A lot of young people.
Young and old. There's a lot of scamming. Social media, there's a lot of scamming. There's a lot of scamming going on. But still, I think if we can come together and support some of these initiatives. She wants to come? And support some of these initiatives, then we can start to build that trust back.
So going back to the whole the economic power of the Black community in the United States, it's currently like 910 billion, and it's projected to grow to 1.7 trillion, I believe in 2030.
What does that represent?
Black spending.
Okay.
Okay, and so you got to think about right now, all that money is spread across various businesses. So imagine if we could try to funnel that into Black businesses and just like have it circulate within the community as opposed to it going off into various other.
And then
industries.
people wouldn't be so desperate when these
Right.
mishaps happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
definitely. I think that's the way forward
Yeah.
as much as we can.
As much as we can. It is difficult though. I say difficult only because for raw materials, because we kind of started that conversation earlier. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I mean, but there. I think it's a matter of building the bridges. I think there are
the small
people in
steps.
all of these areas. It's just that everyone is operating in isolation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if we could start building those bridges, and then again, it doesn't have to be a business owned by someone here in America. I'm looking at the kind of development that's going on in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be able to invest in the Sahel and then taking back all their minerals and all their gold and,
Mm-hmm.
let them build cell phones for us. You know what I mean? We can start looking even in
And
those
it's happening.
directions
There
as
are
well.
countries.
There are-
There are companies in Africa that are building cell phones. They're
Mhm.
building different technologies that you just don't know the brands because we're over here. They're not.
Yes, they're not being
well known
solicited
here.
the same way.
They're over in these other countries. Yeah.
So, I had the pleasure. Kim was in Madagascar, but the rest of the team had the pleasure to go to InvestFest. InvestFest is created by Earn Your Leisure. Two brothers, brothers. One is a teacher, one is into investing financing. They have a partner that deals with trading. And they started Earn Your Leisure about maybe 5 years ago.
Around there.
So InvestFest. So let me just tell you. So a lot of times you're not going to know we're really doing anything because if you're looking at major publications or media, you're not going to hear us all the great things that we're doing. But when you tap into the community that's of us and is speaking of us, we're doing phenomenal things.
Right.
InvestFest had over 10,000 people, entrepreneurs, businesses, top leaders in real estate, investing, entrepreneurship, education. I mean, they even gave away about maybe $100,000 to someone who did a pop-up for a business. They're not talking about that. But if you are following the news and understanding what is happening in our community, InvestFest was one of the hottest places to be. Why? Energetically, it was filled with love.
Yep.
When I tell you, I've never experienced so much love where I walked in a place and everyone was supporting everybody. Everyone was like, who are you? Where you're from? What kind of business do you have? How could I support you? And even the ones that you see who have the numbers on social media making changes, very approachable, very honorable, with a divine message. I mean, 50 Cent was there as well. Queen of Food was there as well. Laura London was there. I mean, top names of us, representing us. Young kids. I bumped into so many young kids. And I say young kids, they were 22.
Right.
Had their own businesses in film, and they just wanted to connect and they just wanted to build. So it's happening, but you got to be plugged into the right communities because we are building together.
I was thinking, that's what brought up in my mind. It's like, I grew up impoverished. I grew up in the South Bronx. And I managed to scrape my way up to a certain level. But I don't have access to those things.
Would love to share.
I mean, I don't have access in the sense that I don't have the resources to get there. People in my position don't have the resources to participate in that. Those kids that are there have parents who have resources that at least got them on the road.
So,
Here. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Talk about Courtney.
Go ahead.
Recording.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sis, go ahead.
Because that's what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
Okay, you know what? A few years
Sis, go ahead.
ago, talk about the seat. You have to tell your story. You have to talk about whatever goes on because a few years ago, it was the early days of BK Crypto, right? And there was this young kid who would come to some meetings and whatnot, and he actually won an opportunity to attend a conference in Hong Kong, right? Okay. And he said to us, I won this contest, but I don't have the money to go. He's a young kid.
Mhm.
He said, I don't have the money to go. Oh, really? No. Okay. And literally we said, you know what? Let's do a donation. Like you anybody who's willing, let's all contribute to getting Cordy to go and attend this conference in Hong Kong. And so say it was done. We just all put in boom, 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 boom. He had the money for his ticket. He had the money for his accommodations. And that, again, because he opened his mouth. So you don't know who's going to be out there to bless you.
I think that there's truth to that,
Mhm.
but I think there's also a responsibility that we have
For
as
ourselves.
responsible adults, not for ourselves,
Mhm.
but there are so many people languishing and not having information, not having access. And this is how a lot
Where
of
to
younger
turn,
people
where to
get,
turn,
sucked into drug trade, get sucked into all of these, joining the military. We have young people who don't see what you see. So they don't even have anyone to tell their story to.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
So I'm just saying that a part of the conversation has to be, how are we going to nurture people who are so far out of the circle that they won't survive without that intervention?
I think here, hold on. Before we even get to that, I gotta believe that everybody in this world has some sort of ideas in their head.
Yep.
There's something that inspires them, moves them. Your parents may not be the ones to support you. Your parents may not support what you want to do in life, but you have to go out there and find your tribe. You know, there's an organization. I don't know if you're familiar, Meetup. Okay, and that is really kind of probably how Cordy found us initially. But meetup.com, it's, people just create little groups like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. And so literally you put it out there and then anybody can sign up and attend. Now, because I've gone to plenty of things. I was a hiker back in the day.
I'm not taking away from what you're doing. That's not what I was trying to do.
Okay, but I'm just saying that you have to find your tribe, the people who are out there who don't have anybody. Okay, what do they like? Go put it out there. Go look on some platform like meetup.com or something to find out who are other people who like to do what you want to do. If you like roller skating, who likes to do that too? Go to those places. You have to find your tribe.
So I understand
I understand what you're saying. It's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
No, she's not
Totally
saying.
not what I'm
So
saying.
you're
what are you
saying people who don't have the opportunity to see that in their community, right? The opportunity to get saved from the corner street, the drug dealers.
I'm speaking from the perspective of
Yes.
growing up
Yes, correct. That's
in
what
a
I'm saying.
community
Mm-hmm.
in which, the reason I was able to move away from that community was, like you said, through my talent. I went to an art school.
Mm-hmm.
So it took me out of the South Bronx into Manhattan, and I discovered different things there.
100% right.
But all I'm saying is that in the conversation, maybe it's because I've lost a lot of children in my family.
Mm-hmm.
I have a nephew who's going to jail because he took drugs across the state line while pot is legal. And I'm looking. I've had nephews who've been shot on the street.
Mm-hmm. You're coming from a different,
And I see children, not necessarily related to me, the light being extinguished from their eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm looking at it from a much deeper level.
I
And
understand.
it's one thing to say, let's be an entrepreneur. But I think that there's more to do than that, in my opinion. So that is what I would, that's what my approach would be.
Entrepreneurship.
Yeah. So I get what you're saying. I didn't grow up that way, but of course I can connect with you because I've had cousins that grew up in that, and I've been around Langston Hughes projects in East New York, and nearly got shot myself. Going to a party, gun to my head, right? Mm-hmm. So I totally understand what you're saying, right? Mm-hmm. And what saved me, because my mom was a teacher, and she raised me on her own. However, there are a lot of people who are actually really drawn to more communities like that. I'm going to talk about Brother Kamal Patah. He actually does Rites of Passage. He has come out with a book who literally teaches underserved communities and boys who I think are maybe from 8 to 16 Rites of Passage. My son went to Rites of Passage because I raised my son on his own. And my mother was the kind of mother that took those kind of kids and put them in the YTA because she taught those kind of underserved kids that didn't come to school. When they did, she was like, why didn't you make it to school? And they were like, well, I had to watch my little kid because my mommy didn't come home and so was on crack. You understand? So I totally get what you're saying. Social media is actually helping more than not. Why? Because most of them have access to a phone. If someone chooses to, and I'm going to be very sensitive, that's also a choice. There's some kids who are anointed and will find and search. No doubt, right? And there's some kids, it's any one of us, that's their story. Their story is they had to get caught, and I'm saying this because I'm spiritual, and you understand? They had to get caught because later on they're going to teach someone else. I'm going to bring up Wall Street Trapper. Wall Street Trapper is phenomenal. From the streets, drug slinging, and he got caught. And what changed his life? He went to the feds, and there was a gentleman, a white guy, said, "What you in here for?" And he was like, some silly stuff. He was like, "Yeah, I bet you in here for some really silly stuff, but I'm in here for some, let's say, some high-end thievery of a $2-something million. And what you in here for some crack, some cocaine, or some selling drugs?" He goes, "Let me show you how to make the real money." And he taught him, while he was in feds, how to trade stocks in the market. When Wall Street Trapper got out, he went to the corner. He was like, "Listen, I'm gonna teach us something better." He said, "You want to take care of your family? You want to take care of your mother?" He was like, "The corner's not it. Let me show you how to get some better, real money, some real game."
Well, that may very well be what I'm speaking of, because I don't know the end.
That's what I'm saying. I get you. That's how I got you. And because of that, those stories, it empowers me because I know so many who have lived that life. You know what I mean? Experienced that. And his story shows that he made a turnaround, and he's helping people in the streets to say there's another way, because the game is to learn the game. They play it the same way. It's just that they're not doing it where it would cost their life for the rest of their life. They play another street game, which he's teaching them how to do it. And that is learning how to trade. That is learning how to do stocks. That's learning how to invest. It's a different game. And we have to teach those because those kids in the street, honestly, they're more brilliant than a lot of them who go to school.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk about entrepreneur, saving, net operational costs.
These barbershops. These barbershops popping up.
Jay-Z said this. They came from that life.
Corporate board. They just need a chance, right? And some information to run the board the right way, the right CEO corporation the right way. And so they're brilliant. They just need opportunity.
Right. And that's why I'm bringing it up, because I think if we're going to do this collective evolution, we can't be leaving these children behind.
100%. Yeah.
We really can't.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's important to keep that in the picture.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I grew up, my mom took them who she could inspire. I saw it.
Yeah, and I love your stories, because I thrived because of my parents as well, and my grandparents, my great-grandparents. So, but like you said, there has been epidemics in our community where we've lost entire generations. And so I think we have to keep in our plans, our thoughts, and intention is to really lift people from the bottom, because a lot of these children were brilliant before they got to the streets.
100%.
And the intervention could have happened before they got to the streets.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave that out of the picture.
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with children may have the ability to be brilliant. With the innate ability to be brilliant, but there's
flower needs to be open.
There you go.
There's something to be open.
Yeah, exactly. It's important to see people who look like yourselves who are doing many of the things that you ultimately feel you want to do. It's like I don't like to use that term role model and so forth, but just to be able to see, there's a Black person who's doing that. I might be able to do it
See
too.
what- yes.
It's,
Yes.
do you see someone in yourself?
100%.
That's what's really important. And so, and then when you don't see somebody here, right in the community who's doing it, how are you ever? You just, oh, that's for those folks over there.
Actually,
I ended up working in the entertainment industry, and it's nothing I thought that I wanted to do. I really fell into it just based on me going out and doing these things. And then people were just like, oh, you're interested in that? Oh, you know what I mean? So, but I always had, my parents always said, oh, you want to do that? Go do it. Anything you want to do, you can go do it. Some people don't have that. So the way we speak to our children needs to be in a positive manner at all times. If that's something you want to do, go for it. And then ideally they see role models in the world, and ideally if anyone's doing anything and you have an opportunity, because there are always these opportunities to go and speak to kids at the schools and everything, please take that opportunity. Share that people are doing non-traditional things, because all you ever hear about is all I've heard about: doctors, lawyers, nurses, firemen, policemen, whatever other nonsense, right? Just like, thank God there's other things. There's online jobs. There's all sorts of other jobs that people could be interested in that you don't know about. So talk about whatever it is you're doing. Go.
Yeah, I want to share that because we're going to come into that. So I want to plug someone in that I respect honorably. And so, gentlemen, Eagle Academy for Young Men of Harlem. This is a workshop, okay? They inspire and empower Black men, young Black men as well. So in the midst of manhood, a discussion on rites of passage and maturation. Special guest Kamal Patel was telling you about before. He's the author of Closing the Dress Hole, Embracing the Call. And this is going to be 12/14/2024, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. workshop, 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. open gym. Place, Eagle Academy, Harlem, 6 Edgecombe Avenue, Student Lounge, second floor. RSVP, contact Chris, another beautiful brother. He's a teacher who teaches young Black men as well and empower them. Okay, Chris Slaughter, and you can contact him at 718-791-7962, and you could email him at Slaughter, WRITE, Slaughter, SLAUGHTER @gmail.com. These brothers are changing young men's lives. And I have a pleasure of knowing them. So thank you for the conversation, bringing this up. I just want to share that.
I appreciate that. And I think as we are, because I'm thinking about moving forward, not going back, but I just don't want to leave threads. I don't want to leave communities and people behind. So that's really important. But like you said, another part of that is media, Black media has also been gentrified. There is very little Black media that's actually owned by Black resources. And so I think that I'm pulling it up because there's so many things that people can do as entrepreneurs. Serving those communities could be something that somebody might want to do. I don't think there's any shame in being a fireman or a policeman or a construction worker.
Phenomenal.
I think that those are things that children can aspire to as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so depending on their drive and their talents,
they come on my job when I'm working, fire safety and fire guard and fair fire this. They come on my job. Hey, do you know that there's a basketball player that looks exact? I said, no, don't tell me that. Let me show you what's on this job. Let me show you what you can do if you really wanted to. They love that.
Yeah.
There's something for everybody.
There really is.
Wonderful.
It really is.
Good kids.
So we've been going for a while. Does anyone have something more to share? Just remind people you're listening to and watching Community Cuts. And in the description, I put some links if people want to explore the young lady who's doing the Black Project 2025. I always say do your own research because you're going to come across 10 scammers for anything that's real. So you really I would say do research and don't just follow any path.
That's true. That's true. It's always important to do your own firsthand
got it.
research. Okay. As far as BK Crypto is concerned, we're actually hosting a introductory event. It's online. So if you go to www, of course, .bkcryptocoach.com, you can sign up. It's a free event. If you're interested in learning anything about cryptocurrencies, that's something that's taking place on the 17th. I believe it's Tuesday, 17th of December. So bkcryptocoach.com, and you can sign up. Oh, actually, no. You're going to need to go to Eventbrite. I don't think it's on the website, right?
No.
You're going to need to go to Eventbrite. So BK Crypto on Eventbrite, and you'll find information.
Can we
regarding
put it in the show notes?
We can.
Yes.
Yeah. We can get, yeah.
So it's actually the event. So as you were saying, important to the community, we're about the community, and we feel that what we contribute is definitely financial literacy. I've been through my financial traumas, and this is why I feel like I was chosen to as well. And so BK Crypto has definitely transformed some lives in understanding not only the basics of financial literacy, but the evolution of it. How do we not be scared to invest? How do we understand a percentage to invest in and take a leap of faith so that we can sustain what we want to create for ourselves, but also legacy, right? But it comes into the education part. And so we want to educate everyone on what's happening now, because as Kimberly stated earlier today, we are in the largest wealth transfer ever, okay? Ever. So technology, blockchain, crypto, Bitcoin, it's not going away. This is a global reset. So you want to get involved, but don't get involved blindly. There are people here to help you. And so 2025 is pretty much called, it's a free webinar, December 17th, and it's basically called the Prosperity Blueprint: How to Thrive by Unlocking Your Financial Potential, and really understanding what is a Trump presidency mean for crypto. If you haven't heard, but I'm sure it's all over the news, you got to plug in and understand what's happening.
You can see it on the marketplace, on the television. There is a marketplace channel that shows you Bitcoins and Bitcoin,
100%.
what goes on.
So please RSVP. It's a free webinar. Again, we want to just create the knowing of what to do for yourself, your family, your friends, and prepare for a phenomenal, thriving 2025. And that's being educated on what's really going on, what's really happening. And you can make a choice, but we're here to walk you through it, to educate you. And all I can tell you is this: when we think about the presidency, there's several conversations, but I like to walk in it spiritually. What does a Trump presidency represent energetically? Business and finance. You don't have to like it.
That's true.
You don't have to care, but we have to stop getting so emotional, take our power back, and make it happen.
That's true.
I love that.
Yep.
And before we close, I do want to mention it is that time of year, and I mentioned my friend's business, but I didn't say the name of it or anything like that. So if you're looking to shop Black or just shop this holiday season, you can go to angelehparis.store. So that's ANGELEH Paris, it's in the city, .store. And she designs, they're actually hand smocked dresses and so forth. So women and girls items. They're made in Madagascar, again, mostly handmade, and they we ship from New Jersey. Okay, so take a look.
And one of the places that I like, I don't have any investments there, but Nicholas Brooklyn
Oh,
Yeah,
love
yeah, we
them.
love Nicholas.
is
Hello.
an amazing
A
resource.
resource, yes.
Another Black
And
business.
they have events there. You guys should probably hook up with them and do
Yeah.
something
Oh, yeah.
there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
I know they have something coming out, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Mhm.
So I would encourage people to check it out. And WBAI radios, a lot of resources
WBAI,
there
yes, they are.
as well.
Yes.
And people, with regard to health and
Yes.
with regard to understanding politics, with regard to finance.
What is your time on the
Music.
radio and BAI?
It's radio, so I don't have to dress up for it. But it's Friday mornings at 11 a.m.
Okay.
Friday
Beautiful.
mornings at 11 a.m.
Yeah, and
Heart and soul,
heart of mine.
heart of mine. Okay.
And
11 a.m. Very good.
in my show this morning, I was speaking with Haru Oriata, and he
Okay.
has a herbal formula that you can use to reduce inflammation and bring back diabetes, heart disease. All of
Yes.
these diseases are related to inflammation,
100%.
which
yes.
is related to the kind of diet we have.
Yep.
And it isn't so much the food, but it's the processing of the food that we buy.
Mhm.
And so we have to be very strategic as well about our health. That's my primary focus.
Girl, you are so tough. You are saying something because when I'm out of the country, I can eat almost everything. Okay, out of the country, and I don't have a reaction. Okay, I can eat the dairy, I can eat the bread, and so forth. When I'm back here, I feel it immediately.
The poison
and I've
is
said
in
this
the
for
food.
years. I've said this since my early 20s. I remember complaining to my mother, Mom, I feel like they're doing something to the bread. And she said, me too. My stomach, it was not digesting. She said, I'm feeling the same thing. And then years later, I learned on Dr. Oz that around that time that I'm talking about was when they started introducing genetically modified food
There you
into the
go.
system. And I said, there you go. I didn't know anything about that. All I knew is I was having a digestive issue. And you know what's really horrible about that? A young lady, she's maybe pushing 40 now, right? But at the time that I met her, she was in her early 30s. And she had said to me, Kim, you're always talking about, digestion, like you're going to have an issue, like you don't want to eat that for whatever reason. And she said, I've always had a difficult time digesting food. She goes, I thought that's just the way it was supposed to be all the time. And I said, no, that's not the way it's supposed to be. But imagine there's so many people who are in this world now that think that is normal. Because that's their normal.
And
issues.
it comes to, it's just been going so long in this country. People grow up on these foods and they grow up with these illnesses and disabilities.
Yeah.
And the other part of the issue is what is really being done through the medical system, which is a travesty. But I was reviewing, it's a peer review. You can go into the NIH and you can do research and find out the drugs that are being prescribed and the side effects are part of what's happening. Then they prescribe another drug, then you have double side effects. And people tend to decline when all they need to do is reduce the inflammation in their body instead of taking drugs. And I don't remember the name of the drug we spoke about today, but when you go down to look at the side effects, the first side effect was death.
Yeah.
So, which means that like 10% of the people who are taking that drug, 10 to 20%, they'll die from the drug itself. So I just think that there's so many levels that we have to begin to really look at what we're faced with and how we can begin to make that change. Because so many people are unable to participate because of physical illness, mental illness, and all these kind of things. And we need to deal with that as well.
And to your point, I want to also plug in another company who is actually doing a lot of quantum healing. To your point, multidimensional healing circle. You can find their website is multidhc.com. I actually personally had a session with them, and it's out of this world. Imagine being in a traditional operating room, but on a cosmic level with energetic surgeons that are healing you collectively in one space. And they're literally tapping into all your auric fields and energy places to tell you what areas you need to help with and healing with. Because before we have to get the prescription, energetically, there is something emotionally that's causing a dis-ease.
Absolutely.
And so
right.
so the multidimensional healing circle does that, and phenomenal. So check them out. They're doing amazing things. It's out of this world, more of a conscious healing level of transformation. And so I would definitely check that out.
So we'll have to put all these links and whatnot.
Yes,
to all the
yes,
information
right.
here. We gotta try to remember everything that we talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to the show notes.
So
You could
Just so-
probably, even if we don't have it today, you can
Okay.
text it to us and
Yes.
maybe we could put it in. But since everybody's making a plug, I'll make a plug. The website, my website is Dao Qigong Life,
Oh, beautiful.
DAOQIGONGLIFE. And at the top of the page, it will link you to 3 full classes. So people
Okay.
can go in and see if they like it.
yes, beautiful.
That's
And it's
awesome.
here, right, in Brooklyn.
I teach online.
Oh, perfect. Okay, good, better for me. Thank you.
So I think we're good. Go ahead, Duke.
Yes, family. We are good. Another Friday night in Brooklyn. We thank you, family, for being a part of Community Cuts. We're hosted by Salon Leahing. If you're looking for a phenomenal beautician, a phenomenal barbers, beauticians, please, 732 Washington Avenue. Check them out. 718-230-4100. And we're in the season of Aquarius. That means consciousness. That means that what we're saying to you is full of consciousness and being. And we're asking you to support the Black business throughout America. Come back to that oneness that we've been looking for a long time, and it seems to elude us. Come back and support each other in this country. Again, if you're looking for an excellent beautician, professional beautician, phenomenal beautician, excellent energy, please check out Salon Leahing, 732 Washington Avenue, between Prospect Place and Park Place. Phenomenal energies here. Thank you, family, for being a part of Community Cuts. It's a wrap now. Thank you.
Shay.
Thank you.
It's beautiful.
Good job.
Good job.
Good job.
Yeah, nice.